Okay. So are you ready? Because I'm recording now. So,
Yeah.
okay. I am joined by Reynaldo Garza. Welcome to the Rabbit Hole Show podcast. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
And how are you dealing with the pandemic at the moment?
I imagine the same as
Everyone else.
everyone else, the entire world. But actually, I was already considered myself a sort of recluse, antisocial person before the pandemic. So when it started and I got to stay home, it wasn't that big a difference for me.
There are people that are enjoying the pandemic, just being at home and just
I wouldn't go as
being
far as
away from everyone.
yeah.
Yeah. So what do you
Yeah.
do at home when you're not out and about? Because
Well, my main job is I make TV commercials for a home shopping network in Austin, Texas. So I can actually work from home or from the office. Um, so I'm usually editing on my computer. All right.
so I'm going to get straight into it. You got a new Kickstarter campaign, and
I
it's
do.
called Tank McGregor and the Mechanical Menace, and it's a
Yes.
sci-fi comedy
Yes,
graphic
sir.
novel. So, what
That's right.
inspired you to start this project? And I'm really interested in knowing the idea behind it.
Um, well, I don't want to get too Debbie Downer, but
Go for
as
it.
with the start of most of my projects, it's hard to pinpoint exactly when it started, but it most probably began because I was feeling down or depressed or whatever. Um, that's usually when I feel at my most creative for some reason. When I got nothing else going on, I bury myself into like a project and focus on something. I mentioned to you earlier. Mm, well, let me start a little further back than that. I used to draw all the time. That was I always be doodling and creating characters and short stories when I was little, and that slowly developed into storytelling and a love for film and filmmaking. So that's what I
Mm-hmm.
studied. I studied film production here in Austin.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and with film production, it's a lot harder to get all the pieces together. And I did. I made a feature film back in 2009, and I've made a few short films. But every time it just gets a little harder to like get people together um, and have people believe in your project and back you up and get an entire crew to form a movie.
Exactly.
So being able to so little by little, actually, I just started falling back into drawing and creating stories where I was just completely self-sufficient and independent and didn't have to rely on anybody else. I could just imagine it and create it on the paper. If I recall correctly, Tank McGregor and the Mechanical Menace began just as this 15-page short story that in my head was not going to go anywhere or become anything. It was sort of an exercise in seeing how ridiculous I can get without the limitations of a budget, um, without thinking, oh, well, this would never be able, I could never do this with my resources. I could never do that because I don't have that kind of money.
Exactly.
So I
Yeah.
just started writing wildly. And it became this nice 15-page little story, and I put it away for the longest time. I put it away, and like around 2.5 years ago, I found it again in one of my long lost files in my computer, and I
Mm-hmm.
thought, I thought it's not terrible, like it definitely could use some work, but I just began doodling it, and once I had like the image in my head of what he would look like, I just started going, and I didn't stop, and for 2 years I drew it for 2 years, not because it was a particularly long project or very involved, but because I'm doing other things. And again, I still didn't think anything would come of it. So I would just draw it when I had that time off or when I was feeling like creatively dry or burned out on something else. I'd just go and I burn myself in drawing and just start drawing. And little by little, it became this thing where uh, it started looking like an actual comic book to me. And just from all the drawings, I felt I started getting better. I started getting better at my own craft. And I used to struggle a lot with like hands and noses and faces, and suddenly like it became a lot easier. And even if you read the comic, you'll see that a lot of the characters have like visors that cover their entire faces, or
Mm-hmm.
they have tentacles instead of hands, or they have like flippers or whatever. To me, avoiding drawing actual human anatomy, you know.
Just working with what you know, isn't it, really?
Right,
And then
exactly. That's
building
another
on it.
reason it became a sci-fi, because it's like science fiction. I can pretty much draw and invent anything and tell you it's the just Uber la 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 la, you know, and people can't question it.
Did you show anyone before this whole Kickstarter and think, and what did they actually think of the actual project
No, I had
or your
shown it
comic?
to like, yeah, I had showed it to like my brother when it was still like in its like sketches, and I'd share pages with some people in my family. My wife got the brunt of it. You know, whenever I'd finish a page, I'd be like, "Look at this," and I
I was like,
show
oh
it to
no,
her, and like
show me
she'd be
another
like,
page, damn it.
she'd be like reading it, and I'd be like next to her, like, "What do you think?" Like, probably making her really uncomfortable.
What do you think? You good? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, good,
Yes,
good,
it's
yeah.
great. It's great.
And
Please.
yeah, I know, right? Bless her. She's like, "Oh, this is awesome." I'm like,
She's
"Yes, thank
dreaming
you."
of the comic as well.
Right, exactly.
So
So no,
tell
not
me,
a lot of people got to see it.
no. So tell me and the viewers what the story is all about.
Um, well, the story is about Tank McGregor and his partner Jensen. Tank McGregor is a intergalactic bounty hunter. Think of him as sort of a combination of a Judge Dredd and RoboCop
Okay.
with
That's quite a lot
like the
there.
Rocketeer.
Wow,
Sorry.
combination overload.
Yeah, well, you know, it's just like a lot of the things and inspirations that I like
Yeah.
in characters and comics. But he's sort of a no nonsense character. You know, he believes in the contract, and there's right and wrong, black and white. There's no shades of gray. And one day they receive a contract from a company called the Sexy Nexy, which is a sex bot factory, where one of their main products, a sexy robot, has gained sentience and escaped. And as robots who gain sentience tend to do, she went on a murderous rampage. So they go on and track her down, but without revealing too much as to what exactly happens. Not all is what it seems. You know, it's not just uh, it's not as simple as that. And the
No.
story itself goes into themes of identity and transhumanism and all sorts of things that I just found interesting and really sci-fi. I don't know if they've particularly been done before, but it's just things that I had never seen done in a comic before. So it's just that's the kind of stuff that I like to explore. And then just throughout the whole thing, I just peppered it with my own sense of humor. I always felt that in the comics that I've read, I had never really read one that was like that made me like burst out laughing.
No.
They're always very serious. At least the ones that I've read. My repertoire might not be that big. But
You're
so
like occasional, huh?
yeah, right, exactly. And I'm not saying you're gonna find mine like laugh out loud funny, but I think it's hilarious. You know, I just peppered it with my own type of humor, and every chance I got, I took the piss out of it. You know, without being too serious. I'd go the other way.
Mm-hmm. I was wondering, are there any graphic novel writers or writers in general you're reading and have inspired you into writing your own?
Yeah, recently more than when I first started. When I first started, it was Frank Miller all the way. I love the way Frank Miller used what's the word? Not metaphors, but analogies to describe things. Like when a character would get punched really hard and he'd say a nuclear bomb goes off in my face, you know, things like that. So I would write that. So my character would get kicked and he would say like, I pick up the check at a fancy restaurant, you know, because that like hurts just as big as a nuclear bomb, you know. So he inspired me a lot. I was inspired by The Art of Mobius, John Giraud.
That's how I feel about Rent.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
um, yeah, you feel it in your gut, right, every time. Exactly. So yeah, Mike Mignola for sure. So it was mainly Mike Mignola and Frank Miller more than anything. Mike Mignola was more about the fantasy side of it and his sort of not simplistic, I say simplistic, but they're more simple type of drawings like Hellboy. There's not a lot of detail in them, but they're still beautiful, and the way he draws them, the way he uses shadow, that was really inspiring as well.
What what comics do you enjoy at the moment?
I'm currently reading Sentient, which is one that I picked up just completely just based on the cover, and I can't remember the author's name, um, Mark Lemire or something. But yeah, because that one's just I think it's not like a series. It's just it has a beginning and an end. It's just a nice thick comic book about science fiction. Again, science fiction is all I ever read mostly. So that's what I'm reading right now. I've also liked the stories of Stephen Pejek. I think that's how you say his name. I may have butchered it.
We'll
So I was,
disagree.
say what?
We disagree.
Um, yeah, and the Meta Barons by Jodorowsky. That's also another one I've been reading. And those are the main three ones that I've been sort of going through right now, like back and forth. And every now and then I go back to Mignola Hellboy.
So I want to go back to your Kickstarter now.
Okay.
Okay. So what are you hoping for, and have you any future plans for the graphic novel, maybe a series?
What I'm hoping for is to be able to hit my goal so that I have enough funds to be able to print it. You know, the comic book is done, beginning to end. I just don't have it printed yet. I'd like to have physical copies that I can give to people to read. You know, starting with everybody who backs the project will be whether they depending on what tier they get, they'll get a physical copy. Ideally, I mean, I would love to see it in store shelves. You know, I've already been talking to some local comic book shops here about consignment deals, and if I could just get it onto the shelves, I'd be just over the moon. I'd probably be standing next to it in the shelf, like talking, like harassing people, like, "Hey, have you seen this? Oh my God, what could this be?" You know?
Yeah, check this out.
Yeah, check this out. This looks interesting, right? Until I get kicked out. As far as the future
He's
of it,
been here
yeah.
all week saying it. Just let him have
Standing
one
outside
comic.
in the corner.
Does anyone want to buy my
Yeah,
comic?
exactly.
So what are the different tiers?
Well,
What are the different tiers for people?
the first tier would be just a digital copy of the book.
Mm-hmm.
The second tier is a digital copy combined with a physical copy. Oh, first of all, the first tier is the digital copy, and you get some wallpapers for your phone and your computer. The second tier is the physical copy plus everything in the first tier.
Okay.
And the third tier is the digital tier, the phone wallpapers, the physical copy, and 3 unique prints from the comic, which are just these like one-page, beautiful, if I may say so myself, artworks.
I'm very modest, and I think it's very beautiful.
If I may say so myself.
So, are you going to be adding any more tiers to this if it does really well?
If it does really well and it starts going beyond the goal, yeah, I definitely have a few tiers in mind. Nothing set in stone yet, but I can definitely add some stuff. And I've been thinking about things we could add if we were to go beyond our goal. Things like hardcovers and more unique rewards, things like that.
Are you thinking about maybe putting someone in the actual comic? That was my idea anyway. So having their actual character.
You know, you're not the first one to have suggested that.
Really?
Yeah,
You're
you're
like,
not the first one
don't
to have
say that.
suggested that. Some
It's hard
people
work, damn
have
it.
suggested that, like I should make them tier.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not super hard work, but I feel like the comic itself is already so self-contained that if I were to add a character, it would definitely be for the next one, which I'm already working on. The moment I finished this one, I began immediately working on the second volume, and new story, new characters, and I've already included some of my friends. A friend of mine, his name is Frankie. He came up with the name Tank McGreggor way back in the day, and I took the name from him. It was his handle on like Xbox Live or something, and it always stuck with me as just like a cool sounding name, Tank McGregor, and it he wasn't basing it off anything. I actually don't even exactly know where he got it from. But one day I just asked him like, hey, can I use that name for a character? I think it's really cool. And he's like, yeah, go for it. So I've named one of the characters in the new comic after him. So he got that. But I'm sure if somebody backs the Kickstarter, I could definitely make it a tier.
Why not? Have you ever thought of making it into a computer game or video game if it ever gets to its target?
Oh yeah. I mean, like I said, like I'm a huge video game nerd, so when I'm making it, I can totally see it being an awesome like side scroller beat 'em up. Um, the comic itself is very much based on like action heroes that I used to admire in the '90s. So I feel the video game would be like a video game that I would have played in the '90s, one of those side scrolling beat 'em ups, like the Ninja Turtles or
Yeah,
the X-Men game,
Streets of Rage.
Streets of Rage,
Yeah, that was a good one.
all that stuff, Double Dragon.
Oh yeah. Oh,
That'd be really sweet. And
I,
I also think of it as it could be a really cool cartoon, actually,
oh, that
an
would be a
animation.
good idea. I'd definitely watch that.
Yeah.
But I was thinking of more of an adventure game.
Oh yeah, how so? Pitch it
As
to me.
no, just a point and click. You know, one of those old point and click adventure games.
Mm,
I
like
think,
Monkey Island.
yeah, that would be pretty good. But as a beat 'em up, it'll probably get more exposure, and people will probably play it more than like the adventure games. They probably wouldn't have enough patience to play. I don't know.
Yeah. Are you saying are you offering your musical services to make the music for the game, for the video game?
I'll make whatever you want. I'll do it. Yeah, I'll do it for you. I'll do it for the comic now. But why not?
Yeah.
What about a film?
Yeah, man, like that's that's the goal, right? That'd be that's the ultimate goal. That's how you know you've made it if you get a film made out of it. I mean, like I said, I almost see it more as a cartoon at this point. But I mean, I'd be lying if I didn't say I already pictured who would be the characters and stuff, for sure.
I bet you pick the actors as well.
Yeah,
So who
exactly.
would be the main character? What actor would you choose?
Keanu Reeves.
Really? Wow. Okay. Why?
Yeah. Man, something about that guy.
Hey,
I admire
whoa.
him so much. The kind of I admire him so much. I mean, like I feel like he gets a lot of flack for like, oh, he's not the best actor or whatever. But he's so freaking charming, and everything he does, he's like perfect for, And he's got that. My character, Tank McGreggor, has that visor that is ripped off almost directly from Johnny Mnemonic, that
Mm.
movie that he came out in the '90s. So the image of Keanu Reeves with that visor seems like it fits perfectly for it. And he's also like this action star from the '90s. Well, he's an action star now still, but like when he did Speed, it was a huge deal, and it just stuck in my head as like Keanu Reeves is an action star, and The
And you
Matrix
know
and all
what?
that.
He'd probably do it as well.
Yeah, we should try to call him up. That should be my next goal.
What I'll do, I'll tag him in when this video goes out.
Yeah, do that. Keanu Reeves, watch this and reach out to me.
They call me McGregor.
Yeah. Like, whoa.
Whoa, Bill. Or is it? He's Bill or he's Ted. I can never remember those two.
He plays
Bill and-
Ted.
yeah.
No, crap. I don't know now. Now he's going to watch this and be like, nope,
No, he's out. You
he's
didn't even know
out.
that. You didn't even know that.
He plays Ted because he's like Ted Theodore Logan.
Ted Theodore Logan.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Whoa. Yeah. No, he'd be really good for it. There's a lot of people that I look at and I'd be like, oh, they'd be good for it too, characters here and there. But again, like movies, it's so far into the future that I don't really even consider that. I try to focus more on what I can do in the
But when
comic.
you get to that standard, yeah, just say you did a film, you'd still want to go higher because there's no stopping, is there, really?
Like higher than a movie?
Yeah,
What's
because
higher than a
when
movie? Like
yeah,
I show up at people's places and just read it to them.
yeah, why not? Just act it out.
Yeah, I'd call them up and act it out in front of them.
With
Yeah,
Keanu Reeves there as well.
maybe put out a restaurant where, like, in the middle of your dinner, a play just starts and
But you understand what I'm saying. There's always that you always want to go higher and higher and higher.
yeah, exactly.
No one
Um,
has like a stopping point. There's always something else.
yeah, when you get too comfortable, that's when you start to get bored, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's never a stop, is there? Really?
No, I mean, I can't imagine really I mean, like, look at the state of like movies and the way it's going. It's and streaming services and all that stuff. It's impossible to tell where it's going to be in the future, but I don't know what comes after movies, man. To me, movies were always the ultimate thing. I feel like I'd be very happy if I could make a movie that appears like worldwide, for sure, as I'm sure a lot of amateur filmmakers would be.
Yeah, I'm like that with music. I always want my music in like the top films, but you know, we got a dream.
Right.
It's got to still happen.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and that's also these days, it's become more about not so much wanting to get that exposure and that fame, but just be able to share with a larger audience the stuff that's personal to you, right? And the stuff that
Exactly.
makes you click, and the stories you want to tell in whatever medium you want to tell. Which is why, even with the start of the pandemic, it became a lot harder to try to make a short film. In fact, I was planning a short film, and I had written it, and we're getting late into the stages of pre-production when the
Hmm.
pandemic hit. It just sort of like stopped everything, and it sort of put me into the state of like creative dryness, or creative drought, where it's like I not doing anything. And that's when I hit like fifth gear into the comic, and I finished it, and I had it colored, and I didn't color it myself. I should mention a very talented artist by the name of Michael Woods colored the comic, and he did an incredible job. I had sent it out to several artists to see what they could do with it, and he sent me back some sample pages, and I was like, this guy, and he really captured the jovialness of it, and the spirit of the comic that I was going for. But anyway, also going for, what was I getting at? Cut this out, because now I'm just rambling.
Staying in.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, yeah. Yeah. So just the idea of getting, I managed to finally finish the comic and get into fifth gear, and because of the pandemic, it really helped a lot to just be kind of
Hmm.
locked inside and like had nothing else to do but like draw, and finish it, and like polish, and um, so that's when my sort of passions shifted a little bit from like film to comic books, because it was something that I could do and I didn't have to depend on anyone else.
Exactly. Is
Yeah.
there like, as a writer, have you written any books or graphic novels that aren't related to your sci-fi comedy graphic novel?
Yeah, man, I've written short stories, and I've written a lot of scripts that have never seen the light of day, and some scripts that have seen the light of day. For some reason, I tend to lean more towards science fiction, but things that don't have to do with Tank McGreggor, yeah, I have a ton. Um, I recently finished a screenplay, which is actually making the rounds in like the competitions right now. It just made the quarterfinalists in the screencraft competition, and I'm plugging that in because it's also gotten rejected like 50 times from a bunch of other things. But it's
Plug it
totally
in.
fine.
Plug
But
everything in now.
yeah, exactly.
You never
But
know who's listening.
yeah, so that one. Yeah, right, exactly. It's ready to be made. Huh? It's a very low budget. No, but yeah, I'm constantly writing, and just things. I'll get an idea and I'll write it down. Middle of the night, I'll wake up and I'll write it down so I don't forget the idea, and that'll either become a feature script or a short story, or it'll become nothing. And sometimes I look at my ideas and I was like, what was I talking about? I don't remember why I wrote this. But yeah, I'm constantly writing other things.
So, to any young writers out there, what tips would you give them on help? They've just started their path, their writing path.
Don't stop. It's very easy to get discouraged with yourself and think, this will never get anywhere, this is not good, and you kind of stop, and you start, you go on and do other things. And the danger with that is that, I mean, chances are, if you're starting as a writer, unless you're like this prodigy, incredible writer, it's probably not very, your first couple of things are not going to be very good, but you have to keep at it, and you have to keep iterating and working on your craft, and just doing it constantly, and getting better. And you will be getting better, whether you notice it or not, just by doing it, and by reading other people's works and seeing what you like. And I would try, and that's something that took me a long time to figure out, is do things that speak to you and do things that you would like to see be made, and stories that you want to tell, as opposed to trying to create what others are doing. You know, it's
Yeah.
very easy to watch a Marvel movie, Iron Man, Avengers, or whatever. Oh man, I want to make movies like that, and you just start writing it. Before you know, you kind of like just wrote exactly what they made, or you're just following a path that like other movies already followed instead of following
Exactly.
your own path. You know, I think it was a Darren Aronofsky who said like, don't make things for other people, make things for yourself, and the other people will naturally gravitate to it 100%. So yeah, that'll be my main advice is make it your own, keep at it, and don't get discouraged. I feel like I'm my own worst enemy when it comes to my work. I look at it like, oh, this is not great, and it's hard for me to believe people when they tell me like, oh no, this is good, you know. So I have to keep reiterating and keep working on it until I feel it's good.
That's
But it's easy to get discouraged, and you can be your own worst enemy. People can stop making stuff that could be great because they feel it's not good enough.
I know if you told people how you think about yourself, they would not be your friend, would they?
Yeah, no, I cannot be myself around people.
No. One more question I'd like to ask you.
Yeah,
Okay,
sure.
it's the most important question of
Oh
the
boy,
day. Okay, are you ready? Do you prefer tea or coffee, and why?
neither.
Wow, it's the
Yeah,
first time, eh?
I don't drink coffee or tea.
No. What do you drink?
uh,
Life. I
I
drink
drink life.
life.
I get drunk on life, man. No, I
My
mean,
comedy, eh?
I don't drink that much beer either. I'll drink water or
Oh, you do drink some liquids then. Well, that's good.
yeah, I do drink some liquids. Yeah,
Yeah.
I sustain myself off the dreams
Yeah.
of others. No, I mean I'll drink like Coca-Cola, or like they have these apple sodas here in Austin, in Mexico, where I grew up, called Joya Manzana, which is just my favorite drink ever. It's just an apple soda. I don't
Okay.
know why I never got into coffee, man. Like I've tried. I love the smell of coffee in the morning. I love the smell of coffee, and I love being around coffee. But it's an acquired taste, and I just never got into it. You know.
Oh wow.
And tea either. I don't know what it is about tea. Like I'm incredibly picky in what I eat and what I ingest. For some reason, I've just always been that way. All right, man. I'll stop diverting the conversation.
We always yeah, but that's what a podcast is, isn't it? You just divert to different subjects. You know. As you've been listening to different podcasts, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I've listened to a few.
A few.
Just a few. I can't remember
Just
the names of them right
two.
now. To get, yeah, do you get in the UK? Do you get To Catch a Predator?
I'm glad you're here. Could you take a seat?
Dude, I love it. Please take a seat right over there. But Chris
I
Hansen,
know they make it into some sort of comedy in here, like, oh,
it's
you're here again, though. I thought
but
I
it's
told you not to come back. And he's like,
like again. Oh man, and these people keep coming back, man. Well, my point is that Chris Hansen started a podcast where he talks about the Catch a Predator episodes. So that's what I've been listening to.
what his favorite? His top 10.
His top 10. No, he just kind of goes through them, I think, and talks about them in detail and interviews. Like he interviewed the daughter of one of the predators.
Oh, okay.
So that was interesting. But yeah, I love that show. That's neither here nor there. Just me
But
plugging Chris Hansen.
Chris Hansen. Maybe get him on the comic. Or get a scene.
Get a scene. Yeah. Where
Yeah.
please have a seat right over there.
That would be funny, wouldn't it? I'm watching. You know what? I haven't listened to many podcasts though
No, I
myself.
would think.
I just did them. That's it.
Yeah, you just exactly that. That's all you need.
Just
I don't
do
really
it. That's
listen
what
to
you
that
gotta
many
do.
podcasts either.
Get out there, do it.
Right, exactly. You know, sometimes that's better though, because like when you listen to a lot of podcasts, you have this preconceived notion of what you think a podcast should be like. So then
Yeah,
you try to you try to emulate that.
because I always have questions. I have questions I want to ask the guests, and then whatever else you want to talk about. Yeah, so we have a set. So you gotta have some sort of rule, I suppose. But after that, you just go off one because there's some podcasts that just go off.
Mm-hmm.
They don't even stick to the subject long enough.
they're already going down or up, wherever.
Well, I think you have a good structure here. I felt really at ease the entire time, and it just felt like a good conversation.
Like I was massaging the shoulders, yeah. Oh yeah, I feel so relaxed.
It's that sweet British nectar voice.
Oh yes. Doing that, and I'm trying to get you to drink tea. Tea, it's good for you.
Yeah, after this, I'm like, I just feel like I need some tea now. I don't know
Yeah,
what it
do you want some tea now? You want
is.
some tea? So I'm gonna go get some hot beverage,
Sounds
and
good.
I will put a description in below of your Kickstarter.
That would be very helpful. I
And
appreciate it.
you've got roughly 20 odd days left.
25 days left. Yes.
25 days left.
Get
So
in.
you'll definitely make it.
Oh, hopefully. You get in while the iron's hot, for sure. Anybody who's listening.
Yeah, remember the iron is hot, so get in there. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I will see you all next week. Goodbye all.